All right, everyone, welcome back to Embody Radio. I'm your host, Emily Duncan. This is the premier podcast for high-performing humans looking to embody their happiest, healthiest, highest selves. And today we are talking to one of my favorite people and one of the most aesthetically pleasing people, which you guys know I absolutely love. Today we are talking to Florencia Rodi. Florencia is a personal stylist. She has actually helped me style myself for a few different trips, few different events, and I think we got connected through Sue. I want to say that that's who like first told me about you. But Florencia is an amazing stylist on Instagram. She does a lot of incredible work with just you put together you were one of the first people that I saw doing, because you've been doing this for years, putting together like the little just without a body, just like the items of clothing like on an outfit post. And I would scroll your page for hours and just be like, oh, I like this one. Oh, I like this one. So we're here to talk to Florencia today. Florencia, for everyone that is not familiar with you, go ahead and introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you do, how you got into it, all that good stuff.
Hi, everyone. My name is Florencia. I am a personal stylist, personal shopper. I specialize in women's wear, but I've done some menswear and some editorials in the past. I have been working in fashion by myself since 2019. And that's when I started my Instagram account, my styling business, and just really been putting in a lot of effort since then. I've worked with Emily on a couple projects that I'm really proud of, and
Oh, you're the best.
I love them. And I think we really did some good work together. We have pretty similar taste, I think,
Mhm.
just personal style. So that was really fun. And I'm so happy to be on your podcast today.
I'm so excited. You're the first fashion person I've ever had on the podcast, which I'm so excited about because everybody knows that I love fashion. And I'm like, when we bring the podcast back, we need to get some, and we talked about this like a little bit beforehand in just like a different way. It's sometimes hard to have like fashion and styling people on a podcast because it's like you're listening, whereas fashion you're like seeing, right? But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think like getting down to some of the principles and like kind of how you do what you do, all of that stuff, I think it's going to be so valuable. And I'm so excited. And it's some of the stuff that I get the most questions about because people see like me and how I embody and rock my own style. And like, people are like,
Yeah.
oh my God, how do I do this? So first and foremost, how did you get into doing what you do? Like, what was your story? Did you always love fashion and you just decided to go for it? Like, what was the origin story here?
Yeah. I loved fashion when I was little. I think we probably have like the same backstory, like going back to school shopping and being obsessed with shoes and like limited to and all that stuff.
Oh my God. The
Limited to.
core memory that unlocks whenever someone says
Absolutely. It was a moment in time.
she truly loves.
And then in high school, I discovered Tumblr, which was my dream because I
Yeah.
love photos and I was kind of like a shy kid. So I was just always on my computer,
Oh
on
my
my,
God. I feel like
in the
Tumblr
library.
was like Pinterest for slightly emo kids.
Oh, yes. It was an emotional place for sure. I was on there spilling my heart, posting all my fashion stuff. And that was the early days of blogging. Like that was how people would express themselves and come up with ideas and create like communities. Like you have such a strong fitness wellness community, and like that's kind of the same type of thing. It's like it's not about where you are physically, it's just about what your interests are.
Mhm.
And Tumblr was the first place I discovered that type of online network. And then I discovered Polyvore, if anyone knows what that is.
Oh my God. I never used it, but I heard of it.
You would have been huge on there. It
Oh
was such an aesthetically pleasing type of thing. You would have had like mad followers on there. But
my
I was
God.
on there
Yeah.
and I would just post all the time. Like I was in my high school library on Polyvore, like putting together outfits with Topshop jeans and Converse and all
The
that
Jamie
stuff.
jeans or the Joni jeans? Which one?
Not the Joni jeans. Yes, the Joni jeans. I wanted them so bad. They're like no pockets, so they were
Yep.
really just like giving you that figure, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
But I was on there and I would always be posting, and then the people who worked at Polyvore noticed that I was like one of their most active users because I would post all the time. And so they ended up inviting me to visit their offices in California. and go to Fashion Week with them when I was like just starting college, which was
Oh
like,
my God.
it just made me feel like fashion was a real possibility for me
Yeah.
because I grew up in Massachusetts in a
Mhm.
town called Belmont, which is like a very average suburban New England place. Is very like focused on Ivy League STEM
Mhm.
field type thing, not really in the fashion world. But having that exposure made me feel like, oh, maybe I can do this, and I just kept pursuing it until I figured it out.
Dude, that is so cool. What was it literally going to Fashion Week as like an early part of your career? What was
Yeah,
and you just went to New York Fashion Week this
yeah,
year. I'm gonna
yeah.
ask you about that later because that looks fucking amazing. But like, what was that like as early college Florencia having this company invite you to go out to meet them and go to Fashion Week? Like, what was that? Were you just like, what is my life?
Yeah. I mean, I was totally like a deer in the headlights in a way. Like I couldn't wrap my mind around it, and I couldn't have been more grateful. Like I was kind of like so grateful I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I kept saying like one day I'm going to pay you guys back for this. Like I will I will get you for this. Like this is the most amazing experience of my life. And they were kind of like, it's fine, like don't, we want you to be here, like this isn't like a transaction. But I was like, you guys don't understand. And I was so happy, and like it was like a dream come true to me. It was like somebody, it's like you meeting, One Direction or something. You feel
Right.
like you just
Right.
your teenage dream is like happening right in front of you. I couldn't handle it. I was just like beside myself.
That's so crazy. And what year was that? Like when in
Oh boy.
blog slash social media time frame was that?
I think 2016.
So it was still like kind of early-ish. Cause like
Yeah.
for people listening that are not social media dinosaurs, like I jokingly refer to myself as a social media dinosaur because I've been doing this as a creator since 2014.
Yeah.
Like early 2000s, so like 2007, 2008, like through like 2012, 2013. That was like OG blogger time. That's
Yeah.
like where things started. And then Instagram started, I think it was around like 2010, 2011, because I was still in high school. And
Yeah.
like then influencer culture started like a few years later. So
Yeah.
that was a major, I really feel like that 2012 to 2016 timeframe was like a pivotal time in the shift from just blogging to like social media and all of that. So
Yeah.
that is a major opportunity at that
Yeah.
point in time. Like that's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So then after that, because that's 2016, and then you were like, I started my kind of styling business on Instagram 2019. What were you kind of doing in the interim? What did that look like for you? Did you start styling for people then, or were you just still kind of figuring you out?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of I should really write everything down, but
It's such
I
a
went
cool story. You should.
thank you. I went to college for marketing. And after college, I got a job doing marketing for a local company in Boston.
Mhm.
And I had always been on Instagram just posting my outfits, but I never thought like this is anything special because everyone does that to a certain degree.
Mhm.
Even just your friends who are private citizens will post their outfit every once in a while. And I never thought much of it. But I started putting once Polyvore was shut down, I kind of wanted a place to put my outfits. So I started a page just as an archive page. I didn't plan on promoting it or even like showing my friends really, but I just wanted like kind of like a Pinterest board style page where I could go
Mhm.
to look at all my old stuff. And I started doing that, but then I realized that I could do the same thing on Photoshop. So I started making new ones on my archive page. And then I would put hashtags on it. I'd be like, hashtag OOTD, hashtag Laura, random stuff. And I started getting followers on there. And I was hype. I was like, are you kidding? Like, you guys think this is interesting? I thought it was just me. And my first client was actually one of my friends, his boss at the time. He showed her my page and she thought it was really interesting. And
Mhm.
she was like, oh, are you a stylist? And I wasn't, but I was like, yes,
You're like, yeah.
I am. I'm a personal stylist. Like I Googled what that was and it was like, I specialize in this, 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 and this.
You gotta fake it till you make it, girl.
Have to. And I
You
was so
do.
determined. Like I went to her house, I was wearing like a blazer and like loafers. It was like, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I really gave it my all, and she hired me for a long time. And after that, my page kept growing and growing because I would post all the time. And I ended up working with a few influencers because they had found me just through the grapevine, through like the explore page. And I think once you do one project and people document it, like in a YouTube video or in Instagram posts, and people can see the process of how the styling works, a lot of people become interested because it is like a really fun collaboration. So getting one done was like a domino effect in a way. It's like having like all of these different people just reach out to me. This was so awesome.
It's like you get one foot in the door. But also too, something I want to like double click on is you got a foot in the door because you said, I want my foot in this door.
Yeah.
Like this person's like, oh, are you a personal stylist? And you're like, well, in your mind, you're like, well, I don't technically call myself that, but I think I
Yeah.
would like to be that. So yeah, I am. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that anybody listening to this, because people ask all the time, like, oh, well, how do you start like pursuing your passion, or how do you do this? How do you do that? You just do it. And it's almost like you have to use the name of the show, embody the energy of what it is that you want to be before you are it. Because like and you prepared for the role. You gave an
Yeah.
Oscar worthy performance, right? You're like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk in, I'm gonna know as much as I can know and just do my best to do what this person is asking me to do. And that was your foot in the door. So you
Yeah.
created that foot in the door because you wanted to be there. And I think that's incredible. And so then it's like once that happens, that gave you, I'm sure, a little bit of confidence. It gave you
Yeah.
experience. It helped you build a portfolio to then when people found you through Instagram or whatever, like those early people, you could be like, oh yeah, I've done this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Can do for you.
Yeah. I think like especially if you're a creative person, your biggest asset is your perspective and your taste. So it's like, why would you ever be wishy-washy about that? You have to be like, this is who I am and this is the right thing for you, whether it's like working out or what your house looks like, interior design, like your fashion taste. Like you have to go in there and be like, I am going to solve this problem for you, or else why would they
Yeah.
hire you? You know what I mean?
Dude, fucking listen to that again, because that's something too, like creatives in any creative field, whether they're stylists, interior designers, graphic designers, like anybody in a creative field, I feel like creatives get undervalued a lot
Yeah.
because of a lot of reasons, but I think largely because it is tangible in the sense that, like, for example, with styling, you're giving someone an outcome with fashion, but like people don't think about it as tangibly or quote unquote practically as something that's like sciency or
Yeah.
logicy or things like that. And I think that's one of the biggest disservices that we do to creatives because the world would not be functioning without creatives
Yeah.
at all. Like, and nothing fun about the world would be happening
Yeah.
without creatives. And
For sure.
truly, to be a creative, you have to be so in your own authenticity because, like you said, that's what people come to you for.
Yeah.
You have to be like rock solid in that and be like, yeah, this is exactly what you should do.
Yeah.
How did you develop that kind of like assertiveness, or did you always have that self-assuredness or like that certainty of this is my taste and this is why it works?
I always knew that I was very opinionated on things,
Mhm.
but I never thought that that mattered because I was like, everyone has an opinion. That's like a saying, everyone, you can't find someone with no opinion.
Right.
But I realized, like, what are these people looking for from me? Why are they talking to me? It's because they value my opinion. So I have to just, go all in with it
Right.
and talk to them in the same way that they would expect,
Mhm.
from someone who's a stylist. And you can listen to, some of the most established stylists. They're not saying, maybe we could do this. I think we should try. They're like, this is the best thing we are doing this. It's just kind of like a communication thing more than like the actual work. It's like that's its own thing. And then the way that you're like delivering it to people can be however you want.
Absolutely. When you deliver something with confidence, people are going to receive that with
Yeah.
confidence. It's like
Yeah.
even just the energy of like, oh, I think this would be good, or like maybe this would work. When you're receiving that, you're like, okay, yeah, like maybe it would, versus somebody being
Yeah.
like, this is exactly the best thing that you could wear to this event, or this is the
Yeah.
exact best vase you could put on your coffee table. You're like, absolutely. Like there
Yeah.
is no other option. Like, of course. Like,
Yeah.
so again, you have to lead with that energy. Like,
Yeah.
and it comes back to that kind of rootedness in who you are and what you believe and what you see in your kind of creative vision, which is so valuable. And not a lot of people have that level of confidence in their creative abilities. And I think that's really freaking beautiful. And I love it.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And also too, I think because one of the things, obviously we have very similar styles. So that's one of the things that drew me to you. But like there is a level of continuity. Like there's a thread of unity within your style. And that's something too that I think is very special and unique to creatives is yeah, you can pinpoint it with words sometimes, like, oh, like a lot of neutrals, a lot of like staple pieces, a lot of this, a lot of that. But also there's an unspoken element to it. Like there really
Yeah.
is just an essence that is unique to each person. So if you were to try and describe yours, what would you describe kind of your style ethos as?
My take on it as of right now, I think I love feminine and masculine kind of combined. I know you really have that down. I think that is kind of the common thread between us.
Mhm.
And feminine versus girly is something I think is really interesting. Like you can wear something that's super sleek and super simple and flattering, but it's not overly girly. It's not like frilly and excessive,
Mhm.
it's like a woman's wardrobe. But
Yeah.
then adding elements, in outerwear or with your footwear that's like a little bit menswear inspired, like an Oxford shoe with a tight dress and an oversized blazer is like you're balancing those elements on a woman's body. It just looks amazing to me.
No, I absolutely fucking agree. I absolutely agree. And I love, we're going to double click on this one. I love that you made the differentiation between feminine and girly because
Yeah.
there are, and there's nothing wrong if you have a girly style. Like that's just not our personal style. And
Yeah.
if you're looking for that, you'll find it. But I think a lot of people, and I'm so glad you answered the other question as well. One of the top questions I get about style is like, how do I combine feminine and masculine elements?
Yeah.
I think of feminine versus girly. The immediate thing that came to my mind when you were describing that, I'm like, I'm thinking of like a satin or silk slip dress versus like a floral summer dress.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's the difference to me. And
Yeah.
so you take like a slip dress and you put like an oversized blazer and maybe like some chunky loafers with it. You're mixing elements. There's a certain level of juxtaposition. And
Yeah.
like when I think of feminine and masculine elements as well, like slip dress, a little more flowy, kind of like hugs the body but doesn't like cling to it. And then masculine, it has like more structure and more
Yeah.
defined shape to it already. So it's like when you're, and I think this is a great time to kind of gear conversation this way, when you're trying to develop your style and find these different elements to incorporate into your wardrobe, ask yourself like what energy you get from pieces. So what advice do you have to somebody out there that's like completely new to developing a style for themselves? That's something that's come up a lot lately is like, how the hell do I find my own style? Like, where do I even begin?
Yeah. I love that question. I wish I could sit down with people and really go through it with them because it's
You
such an
could. You
exciting
should offer
process.
consulting sessions. I think you would be
Yes,
amazing at it. You're starting a business and I'm
yes.
decreeing it now.
I think I have so many like high minded general feelings about it, but to be more practical with it, like step by step, here's how to do it. I would say first, create a list of things that you just like. They don't have to be similar to one another and have any sort of like theme. Just what do you like? Do you like suede? Do you like a tougher leather? Do you like denim? Do you like a trouser? Like what just I think that's cool. And make a list. And then I love to use Pinterest because I think
Yes.
once you start seeing images next to one another, you can see what's going on here, like connect the dots a little bit and come up with themes about like I like a structured shoulder on a coat. I like this length of a pant. I like this hardware on a bag. I like this type of jewelry, like chunky versus minimal. And it's like you can kind of see what's popping up over and over again. And then once you do that, you can go to your closet and see what about my closet is similar to what I like and what isn't. And you can get rid of some things and purchase some things. But I would say, like, do it over time. You know, it doesn't need to all happen in one day. And I think I've tried to work on some projects with people where we just overhaul things too fast and they get rid of things that they actually did want. And it's like, just live with what you buy for a while and see how it makes you feel. Like I had like a Louboutin phase where I was like, that's me, that's my thing. But then I kind of realized like I like pumps in theory, but having like
practice.
having like 10 pairs of them in my closet is just not, it doesn't make me feel great, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe a couple. So it's like just playing around with things and like living with them and creating something over time is like the best way to do it.
I love that advice. You guys, if you have ever asked me a fashion question, please replay this and actually do what Florencia is telling you to do. Because like one of the top things that I tell people is like go into your closet and if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, get rid of it. Like I will go through my closet like multiple times a year. My strategy, because I am annoying, is that I will take everything out of my closet. I'll throw it on my bed because I'm like, I want to go to sleep tonight. That means I have to do this today. And I'll like go through everything. And if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. But I love how you're like, write down what you just think is really cool and then go back and look at your closet. And also the advice about like finding utility in what you have. Like you said, you know, some people you try and do it too fast and they throw things away or they donate them or get rid of them, sell them, whatever. But they actually could have really used and loved and incorporated into things. So like that value. But another thing that I love that you said is see how those pieces make you feel. Because that I think is the biggest thing with style versus fashion. You can tell when someone has style because they feel good in what they're wearing. Fashion, in my opinion, if somebody's just trying to follow fashion, they're just plucking a look off of, you know, a magazine or a runway or even like a Pinterest photo and just replicating it 100% versus somebody that has style, they're making something their own. And that individuality, that's what makes style. And I think a lot of people struggle with it because they're looking to like trends and all of these things to get their information. But what if a trend doesn't resonate with you, right? So like I like to tell people, you know, what are you trying to say with what you're wearing? Because I think how we wear and how we dress, it's a form of our voice. It's like silent communication. It's like this is what I'm telling you about me with what I'm wearing. So when you're like, how do these pieces make you feel? How do you want to feel? And does what you're wearing reflect that?
I think that's why at first I was so confused why like the fitness community was so into what I was doing because I'm not a fitness girl. Like if you saw me in the gym, you would be like, sweetie, are you okay?
We would cheer you on because we're your hype queens. We love when everybody's there bettering themselves.
I mean, you are so for real about it though. I'm amazed. Like you know, like you and Sue and Whitney and Christina, like you're about that life. And I was like, I can't believe that these girls like are including me in their little circle. It's such an honor.
And we're like, Florencia is so cool. What the fuck?
And I think I kind of realized that the same approach that people take with fitness is what you take with fashion when you're really confident in it. It's like, I'm going to make this my own and I'm going to be wearing it in my own way and like kind of embracing yourself as a person in just so many different parts of your life. Like that's what you do, I think, with your style is like you have the same Dior bag as everyone, but you wear it in your own way. And it's not like, oh, I can see someone else wearing it. It's like, no, that's an Emily outfit.
Oh, thanks.
You know what
I
I'm
love
saying?
that.
Like it's like kind of this approach to like creating yourself as if you were like something outside of yourself, like you're
Right.
curating your life.
Right. It's like a character. It's like
Exactly.
it's like which one of my personalities am I putting on today? Like
Yeah, it's an alter ego, and it's like a way
exactly.
to, have fun with who you are and like make yourself feel even better.
Right. Absolutely. And like I cannot tell, and I know you feel this too, but like when you put on a certain outfit, you get a certain energy from it. Or even
Yeah.
like when I have my jewelry on versus when I don't, or like when my nails are long versus when they're short. Like when my nails are long, you cannot tell me shit. Like
No, I feel that.
I'm sorry, you can't tell me what to do. Like it's just not happening. You can't tell me what to do any other time, but especially not now. But like and I would love your take on it, and I appreciate that so much, like what you reflected back to me about my own style. How do you, whether it's in your own style or how you help clients take, more common pieces like a bag or like even a trend and help people make it their own? What kind of elements are you looking for? Is it how they're accessorizing it? Is it colors? Is it this? Is it that? Like, what would your advice to somebody be?
I think even within one type of item, there's still a lot of categories. Like,
Hmm.
and for instance, like for outerwear, the camel coat is kind of an essential at this point, like super high quality wool camel coat. But it's like, what is the silhouette of the coat that you're going to pick? Are you going to do like a strong shoulder, double breasted, straight down, like, banker style? Or are you going to get
That is
like more
absolutely
of
what I'm doing.
more, yeah, or like more of like the robe style where it's belted and it's more feminine. Like there are so many choices within choices that you can make that reflect who you are as a person. So like a camel coat with a black pant and a black boot and a white bodysuit, there's like 17,000 versions of that, even though it's one look. So it's like, be super decisive about which bodysuit you're picking, because it actually does matter a lot, even
It
though
really does.
yeah, it's
It's
like,
that scene in The Devil Wears Prada when she's like, "They're
oh
so
my god,
different. They really are
they
so
are.
different, like
Yes, yes,
astronomically different." And
yes,
like you might laugh if this is not what you're into, which is totally fine, but I'm assuming
yeah,
if you're into this, you're into
yeah,
it. Like even just like the buckle on a belt, I could be like, "No, this changes everything. This
yeah,
literally changes the
yeah,
entire everything that I'm saying is now different because of
yeah,
this one detail." But that's what makes it so fun. And
yeah,
I think that's also where people get a little overwhelmed is because they're like, if you at first you start seeing like everything looks the same, even though it's not, and then you're like, oh, everything's different. And now I'm
yeah,
overwhelmed and don't know how to kind of create cohesion
yeah,
within that. But I
mhm,
think that's also kind of like how you were saying, give yourself time. It's
yeah,
gonna if you've never thought about your personal style and like what you want that to look and feel like for you, it's probably not going to be cohesive immediately. Like there's going to be some trial and error.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's super fun. Like I think it's like, look at it as like experimenting and like cooking, kind of like you're trying out new recipes, and
Yes.
some of them, aren't working and you're never going to do them again, but it was a process that you enjoyed going through, and you get like a more refined taste. Like even I was always into fashion, but now it's like I look at thousands of products every day. Like it takes a lot to wow me, versus a
Mhm.
couple years ago I would be like, anything from Dior, I'm like, that's amazing.
Right. You're
But
like
now I'm like, is it though?
you're like, "I've looked at enough things to know
Yeah,
that it's
exactly.
not." And that's actually a funny point. It's not I don't wanna say, like, disillusioned, but you kind of get, like, disillusioned. You're like, "No, my" it's almost like the filter that you're looking at things through, just it becomes more refined, and I
Oh
think that's a
yeah.
good thing because then you end up wasting less money on things because you're not as wowed by things immediately.
Yeah.
Like, "No, I'm a lot more selective now."
Yeah, you become an expert. Like I think my comparison is always like, what is this person who I'm talking to an expert in? Like for me, if someone made me a workout plan, I would be like, that sounds great. I wouldn't know what was going on. But you could look at a workout plan and say, actually, no.
Right.
Actually, this would be better. And I would need you to do that for me because you have years of experience doing that. So it's like, that is one thing that you can bring to the table that not many people can. And like
You're
you have
very good at these analogies. Like they
to
land, but and also it's gonna land with people so much because we do have a lot of like fitness enthusiasts listening. And there really are, and I think it's just a life thing. There's a lot of carryovers from one area of life to another, but like there really are a lot of carryovers, like between the
yeah.
work of a stylist and like the work of a good coach or a good trainer. Like you said,
Yeah.
like that level of discernment and detail and being able to say, like, no, this is not the correct thing. Here's
Yeah.
why this is better. Somebody's gonna be like, oh, I never would have thought of it that way. But just like how when somebody works with a really good trainer and like they can experience the results of a really well written program versus ones that weren't as well written, when they see that outfit come together with that small detail that's different comparatively to the one that was not the right one, they're gonna be able to see and feel like, oh, that's why that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, I love it. I love it. Do you have any, and like obviously you just have to describe it because we don't have photos of it.
Yeah.
But do you have any outfits that you look back on that you can remember vividly that you're like, what was I doing?
The sneaker wedge for sure. I don't want to talk about it for too long because I'm gonna get upset, but I did wear a sneaker wedge at one point in my life with a camo jacket and a fedora.
Oh,
And
wow.
that photo is out there somewhere if you want to find it. But to in my defense, Beyonce did wear them. So I have something in common with her in that category, but definitely not a good look. And I would never ever recommend that to anybody.
That's a lot at one time. Sneaker wedges, a camo jacket, and a fedora. I wonder if Jason Mraz wore that outfit because he was the fedora king. Like we
Oh my
know.
god. Maybe he was my inspo at the time. I don't even it was all a blur. I
We're
wish
pulling
I
from multiple sources. That's hilarious. I'm trying to think. And I don't know if this counts because I was in like middle school, but like the
No, that's not
okay,
you
so
have to
okay.
meet me where I am right now.
You're like, we gotta level the playing field.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, how old were you when that happened? When was
I
that?
was old enough to know better. I was maybe like 19.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Think of the oh, when I started college. Oh my God. So it I went to the first college that I ever went to was super preppy, like 90% Greek, the whole kit
Okay.
and like that thing. It was Lily Pulitzer threw up on campus. Like, so I remember I went to, it was like, I don't even remember what it was. It's like some freshman orientation, like party thing I was wearing. It was basically head to toe Francesca's. It was this hot pink tube top dress that like poofed out a little bit and
Okay.
it had like little bubbles on it. Like they weren't like big bubbles, but they were just like slightly textured bubbles. And then one of those, you remember the like gold layered necklaces that had like fake gemstones in them that were just really big and
Oh,
obnoxious. So it was like gold with like white stones in it. And then it was like this chunky geometric bracelet. It was just a lot. And I think part of why it's so jarring to me is because it's so not me. Like anybody listening to this is going to hear me say that I was wearing hot pink and they're like, that's all we need to know. Like that's all the
yeah.
data we need.
Yeah.
She was not herself. But
Yeah.
like it was, I think why that was so bad for me was because I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. Like
Yeah.
that was I'm not a preppy girl. She is
Right.
not Greek life, like
Yeah, yeah,
none of that. And I just that photo is burned in my mind of like
yeah.
I had like highlights. I'm like,
Oh my god, I can't even picture that.
exactly. I'll send you the picture after this
I
because
would love to see
I know
it.
exactly what Facebook album it's in. I'm like, I know exactly. Yeah, it was bad. It was not a good time. It was not a good time. So also guys, people that enjoy fashion and do it, subjectively well, have their moments where they're like, no, that was a terrible choice. But it's like, that's where you were at the time. That's where you were.
Yeah, I would not never take it back or anything. It's like it's just cute.
It is. You look and you're like, oh, sweetie, I love
Yeah,
you so much. You're
yeah,
really doing your best. That's all I
yeah.
can
There
do.
was there was something there.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were
It was
moving
a moment.
towards something, and we love that.
And we love that. Pivoting, since we don't want to stay there too long because it's traumatizing. What are some of your favorite, whether they're trends or just things that because I'm not a huge trend person, but like, what are some of your favorite trends or just things that you're loving fashion wise right now? Whether it's a piece, whether it's a color, whether it's a way of styling things, like, what are you really into right now?
I love wide leg anything. We've really kind of come all the way to the other side. Like it was skinny everything, then we went to straight, and now we're just like
We're like, I want to flow in the breeze. I want
I
to
want people to think that this might be a skirt.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And if there's a stiff wind, I might pick up and fly away. Like,
Yes. I
I fully
love the
agree.
wide leg. It is
Same.
so flattering because it gives you like a shape, it's like kind of a triangle in a way.
And you also look like you're floating. Like
Yes, yes.
when there's a really well done wide leg pant, it just like billows in this
Yeah,
really beautiful way.
yeah. It's
It's
so
the most
cool.
beautiful. It truly
It's
is.
so cool. And
And
it's
there's
like
like a sophistication to it.
it's sophisticated. And I think when I was in college, I was always kind of dressing to make sure that my body was visible in a way. Like I wanted to have like super tight jeans and like a bodysuit and like a crop jacket so you could still see my jeans. Like it was always like making sure that everything was like contoured. And now I'm like, I just want to feel cool and
Yes.
yeah, like I just want to feel cool, feel comfortable, and like walk around like I am there for myself. And like that gives you the freedom to wear big things and like everyone always says, like take up space. And it's so true. Like it's easy to say that, but when you're like 20, you just can't do it. You can't bring yourself to like wear something that isn't flattering or else I mean maybe I'm just speaking for myself but I just couldn't and now that I have allowed myself to do that I just have so much more options.
100%. No, I really love that you said this because for one, been there, but for two, especially being in the fitness industry, there's very much so the trend of like just bodycon everything. And like
Yeah,
if that's what you love, go for it. But like I always felt kind of like a sore thumb, like sticking out like a
yeah,
sore thumb kind of thing. Cause I'm like, I just don't like this. Not because I don't love my body or not because of this, but because just like stylistically, this is not me. Like it
yeah,
never felt like how I wanted to represent myself
yeah,
in and not in any kind of like morally attached way. I'm just like, this is just not my vibe.
yeah,
And I love how you mentioned going from dressing so people could see your body to going to dressing just how you wanted to dress because it's a creative outlet. Like that's what
yeah,
I get from that is it's like, no, this is what I want to wear just because I want to wear it. Like because I think it's cool because
yeah,
and that's exactly how you should feel about anything that you're doing for yourself. Like you should
yeah,
be like, yo, I feel fucking cool like this. Like this
yeah,
feels good versus and this feels like me versus
yeah,
me feeling like I'm dressing for somebody else. And that's another thing that's really palpable from anyone. You can tell when somebody is like really dressing for them. That's part of why I love going to New York, is because you literally see everything. You see
yeah,
everything and like it's so much individuality in one place and it's all
yeah,
fine and it's all well and it's all good versus like, oh, you're dressing like this because you want to impress such and such people. I think that's incredible. And I also just firmly believe that trousers are one of the most comfortable inventions ever. And
yeah.
why have we wasted our lives wearing jeans? I don't know.
You know,
Like, I don't know. Especially a wide leg trouser. You're like, bro,
yeah,
I am comfy as fuck. And like,
yeah,
there is just a coolness about it. It's
yeah,
very effortless.
yeah. I love those.
No, so, do you have any favorite places that you buy trousers from? Because that's also going to be a number one ask question.
I think Everlane makes really good pants.
Really? I've never bought any from there.
They're really good,
Ooh.
long lasting, good material. For designer, I would say Alice and Olivia makes
Okay.
really good, like suiting in general, like blazers, skirts, pants. What else? There's a brand called Oakenfort that I recently discovered.
Ooh.
They are really good. It's Canadian, so it's kind of like Aritzia in a way. It's
Okay.
like very office friendly, tailored, and like sophisticated.
Mm,
And Zara, you can't go wrong with
mhm,
Zara. I love a
mhm.
budget friendly option too.
We do.
H&M even, I think.
Yeah. I've gotten some really great ones from both of those places for sure.
Yeah, there's always like something out there that you can. can find.
I love that. I love that a lot. And do you have any other pieces that you're loving lately? Any other combinations that you're loving lately?
Ooh, let me think. I love like for winter, kind of like the huge winter accessories, like a chunky knit beanie, a big
Mhm.
scarf, like gloves and earmuffs and all that stuff is like those are the things that take like a normal outfit into like a look, you know? It's like
Yes.
the little details that make it your own.
That's another important distinction too, an outfit versus a look.
Yeah,
That
oh yeah.
because they're
That's what
very
we're going
different
for.
things, very
Yeah.
different things. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's like the detail that goes into it. And it's like that's why you also have to trust your process when you're putting together a look because you're like, okay, maybe like my base is like these trousers and like this oversized blazer and a bodysuit. Nah, maybe that's not that special. But when you add the bag, you add the jewelry, you add the glasses or the
Yeah.
sunglasses, you add how you style your hair, you add the makeup,
Yeah.
you add everything, then it's like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah. Yeah, and like switching out things. Like I will plan outfits with stuff that I have even when I'm not home. And then once I get home, I'm like, okay, what are we changing about this? Because it's like
Mhm,
in my head it looked one way, but then I'm like, this looks weird with a crop top. It needs to be like a full shirt.
mhm.
Because that little, you know, that little space.
Yeah. It's very
Sometimes the little
particular.
space, yeah, like it looks good with some things, but then some things it's like it's not in the right place, and it's like you just have to keep taking things on and off and on and off until it's like something clicks and you're like, that's it, that's the look.
Yep, and then your entire closet is on your bed again, and you're like, "We
Yeah.
got there, though. We got there.
Yes,
That's all that matters."
yes, I live alone, so it's like a very personal journey, but I am so sorry for anyone who's going to live with me in the future because they're just going to have to deal with that.
You know it's real when there's, like, the trail of clothes because 'cause you're just, like, ripping things off, bringing things back out, and it's literally like a little breadcrumb trail of,
Yeah,
like, yes, Florencia was here putting on an outfit, and
yeah,
these are all of the pieces that didn't make
yeah. There's just like an earring like in the sink, and it's like we're gonna figure this out later.
Yeah. Sometimes they wind up, like, in my kitchen because 'cause I'll, like, go grab a drink, take it
Yeah,
off while I'm walking to get the drink,
yeah,
put it on
yeah,
the counter, come back, and I'm like a week later, I'm like, "Where the fuck is my earring?" And then I'm cleaning my kitchen 2 weeks later, and I'm like, "There's my earring." Like,
yeah.
amazing, love
It's a
that. Like
process. It's a creative process for sure.
yeah, and see, a lot of times creative processes are somewhat disorganized, and that's
Yeah.
part of it, and that's
That's
okay, and that's
yeah,
the fun of it though too, like, we're laughing about this. It's part of the
yeah,
fun. Like,
yeah.
it's
It
just
is
so
so
good.
fun.
It's so good. Are there any pieces that you have on your wish list right now?
Always, always a million. Oh my God. I love Bottega accessories.
Mm.
I mean, their clothing is kind of hit or miss for me, but the
Mhm.
sunglasses, I
Ooh.
would wear every single pair of sunglasses they have. They're just really unique shapes. And then like the plastic that they use is kind of like it kind of looks like stone almost. Like it's mixed and
Ooh.
it's like even the shade part is like you can pick the colors. Like the attention to detail with their glasses is so strong that it's like when you're wearing them it's like you know that those are Bottega, those aren't from just some random store. And I love that like uniqueness even with like a simple black pair of sunglasses. They do it in their own way, and it's like
Mhm.
definitely check them out if you're looking for cool sunglasses or glasses. What else? I want the Dior saddlebag in white just because
Oh,
I think, do you have that one?
no, and I go through an internal battle on a
You
regular
need
basis
it, you
because
need it.
because I'm like, "Emily, you have 1 saddlebag.
Mhm.
Why would you not get a different bag in a lighter color?" But I'm like,
Yeah.
"I love this bag, so why would I not get it in a color
Yeah.
in a style that I already like?" Like,
Oh,
so
I
it's
know.
just a nice internal battle.
I
I wanna
made
find a
that
vintage one,
mistake.
like a really nice vintage one, I think would be
Yes.
very cool.
Yes. I think I made that same mistake where I was like, "Oh, I'll get the Lady Dior bag instead of the saddle." And I got a pink one and I just never wear it. It just sits there.
Yep. Yep,
And
and you're like, "I kinda knew when I was going
I
in."
knew. And I was like, what was I trying to prove? It's
Mhm.
just me.
Right.
here.
Right. It's just same soup, just reheated. Like that's
Yeah.
and also too, like, I don't know if you do this, but I have learned that if I'm going to go outside of my like stylistic box and
Yeah.
experiment, I'm not experimenting with designer first because I'm
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to be spending that level of money on something, I want to
Yeah.
be wearing it all the time. Like I
Yeah.
wear my saddle all the time. Like I'm getting the cost per wear out of that thing. Like it's a lot harder for me to take a risk on something. I did actually I need to show you these. I'm literally gonna grab them right here. If people are watching, they'll get that. I did break that rule when I was in New York last time because like when you go to New York, you break rules.
Oh, yeah.
But the
Oh my
Tibbetts
god.
boots, the Margellas,
Oh
yeah.
my god. I
It
love those.
the fucking I call
Those
them
are
my disco
amazing.
goat boots because the feet remind me of a goat. The silver reminds me of this, but like this was an out of the box purchase for me.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm still figuring out exactly how I want to style them, but like I typically don't. And now
Those
I'm
are
being
too
a
cool.
hypocrite.
I love those.
These are a classic style, so I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
they'll be like my New Year's boots, but
Yeah.
like
I
I
love
typically don't make big jumps into a different pond with expensive items, except for that one time. Just the one time.
Yeah, it changes as you grow your closet. Like the first bag, I always say the first bag you get should be a neutral color. I would say black. But then if you have three bags, you can get like a fun color.
Mhm.
It's like it changes once you have like the core figured out.
Mhm. Ooh, that's actually a fabulous question for people, especially like specifically with a bag collection. What do you consider to be like a good foundation of like 3 to 5 bags, whether it's colors, types, styles? What would be like your foundation?
I think from my actual experience, like going through college, going through working now, my favorite bag of all time is the Saint Laurent Sac de Jour bag.
Really?
It's like a little square. It's pretty popular. If you look it up, you can find it.
Mhm.
And I think what I've noticed is like it holds a lot of stuff and it's very discreet. It doesn't have big logos on it, so you can wear it,
Mhm.
with your family and they're not like, ooh, what is that? It's like it's very low key. And it has a strap so you can do it crossbody or you can put the strap in the bag and it's a top handle, kind of like a clutch for an event. So
Mhm.
it's really like that all purpose type bag. I would get that in black or in like a cream for
Mhm.
my first bag. And then going up from there, I think some sort of like tote would be a
Mhm.
must for like everyday. You have the Dior, which one is
Mhm.
it?
The book tote, yeah, I have just the
Book tote.
classic monogram, the navy one.
That would definitely be in there, like
I
with the
love it.
top five of super chic, super timeless, and like usable.
Yes, like it actually does its job, especially you get a
Yeah,
good organizer in there. I think I have one of the Samorga organizers, like the best work bag ever.
yeah, yeah. It's like it's cute, but you're also like it's part of your life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so having a tote, and then what else? I think having a a backpack is actually really helpful too,
Mhm.
like a cute
That's one of
little
my yeah.
Chanel backpack, Saint Laurent backpack, Louis bags, like the little Louis backpacks. I think
Mhm.
those are really cute, and you can wear those in a million different ways. And then I would say like a real evening bag, like a clutch.
Mm,
If you go out in
yeah,
that way though,
yeah.
like I wouldn't say that just blanket across everybody, but if you're like the wedding girl, like always at weddings, you know what I mean, like that one
27
person.
dresses, just
Yeah, it's like that one person who just has like so many friends that they're at a wedding every weekend. Definitely get a little clutch bag, or if you go to like a lot of like charity dinners and all this stuff, like that will just be part of the
Mhm.
formula and you can
Mhm.
like not have to worry about it.
Right. There's a lot of utility. And I think that's an important thing too, is figuring out what you from your wardrobe, from your bag collection, from your shoe collection, like whatever it is, like figuring out what you need these things for. And like
Yeah.
what's going to get the most mileage, what's going to be put to the most use. Like if you're somebody like me, I go out occasionally, but not super often. Like I don't
Yeah.
necessarily need a super nice evening bag because guess what? Evening for me, I'm asleep. Like that's where I am. The
Yeah.
bag is the one under my eyes. Like that's what's happening. Like,
Yeah.
but I like work at a lot of coffee shops or like if
Yeah.
I'm out, like I need like good daytime or evening bags. Like that's why I love my saddles. I
Yeah.
can dress it in a million different ways. So like figuring out what you need from
Yeah.
your wardrobe, that's huge.
Yeah.
100%. So I love that advice is knowing what you need this thing for and how much you're going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. It just depends, like you said, on the individual.
Do you have any things that you're seeing lately or like that you've seen just in practice that you think are kind of misconceptions about style and styling?
Style. Someone actually asked me this the other day, and I said, I have no idea because I isolate myself like very severely because I don't like people's feedback like on a daily basis.
I love that. More people need to be like that.
And I mean, I think it's just like I'm a Cancer and I'm very sensitive about my work, my life, and I really do value people's opinions. And
Mhm.
so if someone says something, even if it's just like a joke, it will stay with me. And I'm like, did you really think that?
You're like, that was not very nice.
I'm like, I need you to understand me, my whole personhood, like even if
Yeah.
we've only met once. So I think that is like, as a creative, at least for me, the way to like keep your creativity strong and pure is to kind of have it exist in like a childlike
Mm,
place. It's like no one tells a kid that their drawing is bad, even if it is bad.
mhm.
Like have your creativity there, and then once the project is done, then you can take it out into the world and see what people think. But like while it's being cooked, leave it in that space, and you'll get the best result, I think.
I love that. I think that's also really just like profound advice for any creator, especially in the landscape that we're in right now with social media, where people are offering people feedback unsolicited or solicited all the time. But like, obviously, if like seeking feedback is a valuable thing, but also you don't want to taint your creative process and
Yeah.
have it like filtered or like colored with other people's creative process because then it's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of start to like feel in your own energy, you're like, this doesn't feel like me anymore. And then it's not fun.
Yeah.
So, like,
You
letting
have
yourself mess up and letting yourself play and, like we were talking about with, like, outfits that were like, "Why the fuck did I wear that?" It's like
yeah.
but at the time, it mattered. Like
Yeah. You have to be like protective over yourself as if you were outside of yourself, like you're your own parent or something. And it's
mhm.
like at the end of the day, creativity is not, that's why I like it, is there's no right answer. So it's like you can't tell me that this is wrong. You can just tell me you don't like it, but it's not wrong. You know what I mean?
Because there is no right or like, there's no
Exactly.
rules.
Exactly. So it's just like have that space that's like sacred for yourself where
Mhm.
you respect yourself enough to have a bad idea and not like hate yourself for it.
That is a fucking fire quote.
Thank
Respect
you.
yourself enough to let you have a bad idea
Yeah,
because you know it doesn't make or break you.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like the whole cliche Thomas Edison, I learned 999 ways to not screw in a light bulb or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, it wasn't a 100%, nobody bats 1,000, right? Like, it wasn't necessarily
Exactly.
like a home run, but
Exactly.
it did what it needed to do. And if what it needed to do was teach me something, then like it did that. But like, truly, like that self trust is like, oh, it's not the end of the world if this doesn't turn out the way that I thought it would. And that's such a metaphor for a bigger thing.
Yes. I think if there are people who are teenagers or like early 20s listening to this, that is such a hard concept to grasp because it is experience. That's what experience is. And without having that, you just have to have kind of a blind faith in it.
Mm,
But it's something that I can tell you is kind of like the ultimate truth, and you can say it as the same. And it's like, if you know that's true, you can move through your younger years with that confidence, even though it hasn't totally happened yet, if you believe that it's going to happen.
100%. 100%. And like when you're young, everything feels like the whole world.
Yeah.
If it's like a mean comment or like a bad outfit or just a bad day, it feels like a
Yeah.
bad life or
I
like
know.
those
I
kind of
know.
things. And like I feel so much for the younger generation, especially with like how much on TikTok they are and like all this. Like TikTok is one of the most aggressive social media platforms when it comes to mean comments. Like
Yeah.
back in my day, it was YouTube, and YouTube comments are still
Yeah.
gnarly when they're bad, but like TikTok, it's just everywhere. And so like as a young person, develop like it's hard. Like I don't know how they're going to develop. Like I feel for them so much, but like
Yeah.
showing up every day and giving yourself permission to just show up as who and how you are every day, like that's the best thing you can do. And then as you get older, again, like you were saying, experience is the greatest teacher. Like one of the things that I've arrived at, and like obviously I'm only 27, but like I have so much more grace with myself now, and I'm so
Yeah.
much less judgmental of myself now because I'm like, we've been here before, man. Like it
Yeah.
all is gonna be fine. Like
Exactly. You just need to have one instance that you can point to where things went well and you're like, I did it once, I could do it again.
exactly. It's literally like not fall down 7 times, get up 8. You're like, okay, well, we're just at 9 now. Like,
Yeah,
and then there's gonna be 10.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah. But if you don't even have one, then it really is hard to get that even getting yourself out into the world and like trying.
it
That's
goes right back to like your first styling client. It's
yeah.
like you're like, oh, I've never done this before. I've never experienced this before. But fuck it. Like, I'm gonna do it. So like
Yeah.
apply that same mentality to life to all of our young listeners out there, if there are any, which I'm sure there are. Because like
I would imagine. Yeah. I
mm,
think like when that's when I was consuming the most content about, you know, entrepreneurship and starting your own business and fashion and lifestyle is like when I didn't have those rituals yet. I was
mm,
like creating them for myself and like I needed someone to say to me, it's fine. Because
mhm.
now I know it's fine. So I don't need like to
Right,
be told that every day.
right.
But like if you are one of Emily's listeners in your early years, like it really is fine. And you're in a much better place than you probably feel like you are.
Dude, fuck yes. And that was like one of my like mottos from the year that I can reflect back on my life and be like, yeah, this is a recurring theme is like you're never doing as bad as you think you are. So
Yeah.
like just be nice to yourself. But you mentioned something because and it piqued my interest because I'm very obsessed with people's routines because I love my routines. And you
Yeah.
mentioned like you didn't have any like routines for yourself yet. So like what are some, whether they're negotiable, non-negotiable, but like what are some consistent routines that you have in your day, whether it's related to your work or not?
Oh man. It's by the hour until I go to sleep, I think. Like I am such a like creature of habit, like to a fault almost. I have the same breakfast, the oats. We are on the
Oh
same
yes.
page.
Cheers to
Love
that. Yep.
cheers to the oats, cheers to the iced coffee, cheers to I do go to the gym even though I'm not great at
Love
it.
that.
It's more of just like a part of the day type thing.
Mhm.
But I love to go to the gym. I love to do my skincare and all of these things like I didn't realize how important they were until I started doing them every single day and it has almost nothing to do with the actual activity. It's just the continual process of showing up and being like I am worth washing my face with two different face washes and then putting on my moisturizer and my sunscreen and my little eye cream and it's like it's just it sets you up to feel like everything I'm doing today is valuable and you approach things with like a real care that you didn't before.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because if you didn't say it, I was gonna say it. Is like you're showing yourself that you are worth it, that you're
Yes,
worth the
exactly.
effort, that you're worth the time, that you're worth the investment, that
Yeah,
you're worth just the energy. It's like, yo, I am going to take care of myself because one, nobody else is going to, but two,
yeah.
I feel better when I do. And that's the only reason and justification that I need because I deserve it and because I'm worth it.
It matters so much and I didn't see it that way when I was in college. Like when I was in college, full disclosure, I would have a class at like 11 o'clock and I would roll out of bed at like 10:40 and just like grab a Nutrigrain bar and like put on like the weirdest outfit you've ever seen and like waddle over to class. And I was not giving a good presentation of myself. Like I, even if I knew what was going on, like with the class, I wasn't articulate because I was still waking up. Like I didn't know what was going on. And so like after my freshman year of college, I was like, we need to figure this out. What is going on? Why am I acting like this? And it was because I was living on my own for the first time. I didn't have my family. But
Yeah.
once I started waking up early, doing my sun salutations in the morning and my yoga and having a tea before I would go to class, then I would be in class and my heart wasn't racing because I just ate like a muffin with like 3 days worth of sugar in it. Like I was relaxed and I could speak my mind and say what I really felt without, going crazy. So that stuff does matter, even if it feels like tiny in the moment.
Because it's a trickle down, like a cumulative effect. It's like these little teeny tiny. I'm so glad as a health coach that somebody outside of the health field is saying this, because now it's just like further affirmation for everything that I say
It's
every single
true.
day that people think I'm crazy for. But it's just like, no matter what field you're in, like no matter what your interests are, how you show up for yourself every single day trickles into every area of your life, and that's important.
Absolutely. That is the thing that was what tripped me up, is I was like, I'm not that person. I'm not the wake up early, go to yoga with my little leggings person. I'm like a rock star listening to, like Nirvana. Like I'm too cool for this. But
Oh,
then I realized like it's not really a personality type. It's just like taking care of yourself.
and you're like, I can listen to Nirvana on the way home. Like,
Exactly.
or on the way there. Like, I am not like, you can be. It's
Yeah.
that like cliche, like spiritual people phrase. It's we contain multitudes. Like we do.
Yeah.
So it's like I can actually be all of these people in one
Ex-
day if I want to. Like, why
Exactly,
not?
exactly. It's like it is very good for you, even if you don't have to wear aloe while you're doing it. You can
Mhm. You can wear
wear
Amazon leggings. Who gives a fuck? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's deeply personal and
mhm.
it is like it's life changing. I don't think we would never have met each other if I didn't eat my oatmeal 5 years ago. I swear.
It's the
That's how
butterfly effect. A butterfly flaps its wings, and then
it
there's a hurricane
is.
somewhere else. Like you eat oatmeal one time in the morning, and now we're on a podcast. Like,
It really
I love
is. Like it takes you in a whole new direction once you start like living like that. It's like it's like the Matrix or something. You like break out of
it.
something. It's
You
crazy.
really do, and you start to be like, oh, I'm a person, and I'm acting like a person. Like,
What it is, how I described this to my family once I figured it out, I was like, I can do anything I want. Like I am not, if you wake up late, you like, at least I would be like, I'm just a person who wakes up late. That's part of my identity. And it's like,
mm-hmm.
actually, you're a person who can wake up whenever you want and you get to decide that. And it's like, I'm just not a confident person. It's like, actually, you can decide to sit up straighter and look people in the eye when you're talking to them and shake someone's hand and like not look at the floor. Like you have so much control over how you're presenting yourself and the habits that you have. It's not like predetermined.
100% like, we're so quick, until we've like gotten to this point in our lives, we're so quick to give our power away
Yes.
and like do it kind of on purpose. Like the way I'm really conscious about the way that like I speak about myself, and like how whenever I catch a client doing it, or even like a friend doing it, of somebody being like, I am this. I'm like, watch your I am statements, because you're
Yeah.
listening.
Yes.
Like your subconscious is listening to all of that. And you're
Yeah.
quite literally like speaking that into existence. Cause like, what are you going to do if you're like, oh, I'm not a person that wakes up early? You're
Yeah.
never going to do it. You're always going to find like a reason to not do it. Or when you do it, you're going to be like, I hate this. Like, this is bullshit. Versus if
Mhm.
you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to wake up early, because then I get so much more of my day back and I have that
Yeah.
time to myself. Like that's such a big difference.
Yes.
Mhm.
It is so, and I think my like I am both people on both sides of the conversation, like my past self and my current self, and
Mhm.
so I can hear the voice that's like people don't have control over their lives, like don't act like you can. And it's like there are things outside that the routine cannot fix, but it's like the routine helps you deal with that. it
Yes.
it gets you to a place where nothing can ruin your day completely.
Exactly. Ex- Once again, I'm so glad that you, as somebody outside of like a health and like wellness and all of that field, is saying this, because people literally fight me on this. I'm like, why are you so committed to feeling like shit? I don't know. But like, truly, I made a joke. I was with a friend. It wasn't even a joke. It was 100% serious. But like I was with one of my friends who's also a business owner. And I just kind of asked her, I was like, oh, do you check Slack first thing in the morning at like right when you wake up? And she's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, I absolutely cannot do that. I need like the first 60 to 90 minutes of my day, like no phone, no devices, all this stuff. She's like, but like, what if something happened? Like, what if something happened that I need to get to? I'm like, if there is something waiting for me in Slack at 5:30 a.m., which is when I wake up, that
Yeah.
needs my immediate attention, that means I deserve that 60 to 90 minutes to myself that much more. And she was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, yeah, because if some shit is about to happen, if I'm gonna have to put out some fire,
Yeah.
I need to be centered within myself before I
Yeah.
do that. And like people don't, if you've never experienced that, it's hard to understand that, but you'll never get to experience it until you start doing
Right.
it.
It is so physical. It's not just in your mind. Like when I didn't take care of myself and I was just eating the most random stuff and not eating for random periods because I forgot, my heart would beat so fast. And I
Oh,
was always like on this kind of like panicked mode of like what's happening right now because I didn't have like a schedule of like I know I'm going to be doing this at this
right.
time. And it's like you are in this like physical mode that is not conducive to solving any problems.
Mhm.
It's like
You're just
get
in fight or flight all day long, and you're just like,
literally fight or flight. Like my entire freshman year of college, I was like flying away from everything. But I think like once you get yourself into like that mode where you're just calm and your heart is like slow, like the floor of the ocean, it's like I can handle anything right now.
yeah,
Hope I don't have to handle something bad, but like we're ready for it.
right, right. But if it comes, like, I'll be able to handle it
Yeah.
because I'm not like a lemur with my eyes bugged
Yeah.
out like this. Like, that's so, and I'm so glad that like we're getting to have this conversation because this is not related to your work whatsoever.
Yeah.
And like this is probably also a part of you that like social media doesn't get to see because you're like showing up and doing your work. But like
Yeah.
this is why I love talking to other high performing, really driven, just high achieving people and especially women. It's because it's like there's these common denominators. And so it's like for one, it just shows an additional layer of your personality and some of kind of the why and the how behind where you've gotten to where you are now. But it also serves as like a blueprint for people that are looking to do the same things for themselves. Like part of my goal with anything that I do and anybody that I talk to is to help somebody skip some of the bullshit that we've had to go through or like
Yeah.
get through it faster. And so it's like we're literally giving you tangible things that you can do.
It is so important. And like, I think you need to understand how valuable you are to people. Like, I don't provide that part, like, I can't offer that to people because that is a side of myself that I'm kind of private about. Like I don't
Mhm.
want to hear your thoughts about what I'm eating. I don't want to hear your
Mhm.
thoughts about how I'm working out. Like I really can't handle that. But like you and Sue and Christina, like you put yourselves out there in such a vulnerable way because you want to help people. And like you do help people because I followed the same type of stuff when I was figuring it out. You know what I mean? And it changes people's lives. It really does. And it's like, even if you're not going to be a fitness person, and that is not in the cards for me, we've talked about this, but it's like you can use those like expert opinions and then become a better person at what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like nurses who listen to you and librarians
Oh,
and
100%.
lawyers and stuff.
100%. We work with them. We literally work
Yeah.
with them every single day. And it's like when, and like you're a stylist and you do that, like every single person, whether you're in like a wellness field or not, will benefit from being more well. Like,
Yes.
because, and like people talk about like, you know, evolving as a person and like all this stuff and like mind, body, spirit. I firmly believe like one of my core foundational beliefs is that like the body is ground zero for the mental, the emotional, the spiritual work. Cause it's like when you feel like shit physically,
Yeah.
like you were just talking about, like it's a lot harder to grow. It's a lot harder to work through challenging things. It's a lot
Yeah.
harder to be in your creative process when your physical body is like, bro, have you had a singular ounce of water since last Thursday? I don't think so. Like it's hard. And so putting that effort, whether you're like a super into fitness person or not, just like doing something for yourself physically and like
Yeah.
taking care of that channel, that drips everywhere.
Yes.
So thanks. That was really
Of
sweet.
course. I mean, people really need like a blueprint for it. It's not taught in school. It's
which is
not,
it's just asinine. Like, I could talk
I
about that
don't
for
think
a long
anything
time.
like that was ever mentioned to me when I was in school. Obviously, we had like PE, but that is not about, your own wellness journey. That's about like throwing things at other kids.
You're literally playing dodgeball. Like,
Yes.
imagine if instead of just one time, instead of playing dodgeball, they sat you down and they were like, here's how to have a morning routine, or like, here's how to craft a balanced meal, or like, oh, like, because it's also I could go on so many tangents about this. It's very simple concepts, like that kids could very easily learn, but like we get to be adults and it's like we have all of this, not all of it's useless, but we have like a lot of useless information that we
Yeah.
learned in school. And then we're like trying to be people and we're like, I don't know how to do this. I know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but I don't know how to make the mitochondria feel good. Like in
Yeah,
actual,
yeah.
like people don't know. And like, it
Right.
sucks. It sucks.
And I think a part of it that people don't really talk about that I is kind of the deciding factor, at least for me, is like, are the people who you're getting this information from someone who you can relate to? Is like, if there's like a 70-year-old dietitian from Harvard giving a talk, like 21-year-old me wasn't going to listen to that because I'm like, he's probably right, but what does this have to do with me?
Yeah.
And to find someone like you or like Whitney who's like, you can see yourself in them
Mhm.
and you aspire to be like them, you look up to them, it's like that is a unique relationship. And it's like without the internet, that would never happen.
No,
It's kind of
without literally MySpace, Tumblr, Zanga, and now where we are now, like that would not happen. And I think that's so beautiful. Like there's a lot of, we all know like there's a lot of negatives about social media, but the amount of, for one, like you and I, people that it has given jobs or that we've
yeah,
created jobs from it, like the amount of people it's connected, like literally this conversation right now, every single friend that I have pretty much
yeah,
like has come to me from the internet. Like, and I think also too, that's why people that are doing like what you're doing or like the Sues and Alexes of the world and like all of that, like it makes their work that much more important because they're doing something good in a place where there's also a lot of bad.
yeah. I think it would take us not having it anymore for people to realize how valuable it is.
100%.
Everyone just takes it for granted. Like, of course, there's going to be this girl who creates an entire nutrition plan for me and sends me daily affirmations every day and creates my entire workout schedule. Why not?
Of
It's like
course, that's just the way it goes. Like,
it's like actually that's a full-time job and that's something that she didn't have to do for you. And it's
right,
kind of incredible that
right,
you can even access this person in the first place.
right. Like when I started doing this, my parents were like, "You're doing what?" They're like, "You're doing what on the internet?" And they
Yeah.
were like, at first they were like, "What?" They're like very like eyebrows raised. Like I was talking about like posting like photos and videos on the internet. They're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm coaching people on fitness, mom and dad. It's not porn, which if that's what you do, like, I love that for you. That's amazing. But like, but to even conceptual, like I still have family members that are like, so what is it that you do for work again? And I'm like, I've been
Yeah.
doing this for 8+ years, but cool. But like, just that's how mind blowing it is. It's like, and it's just normal to us because we've come up with it. But like people that are in like our parents' generation or like older generations, they never had that opportunity, but we do.
Yeah.
So like, why
That's
not
why I
take
say
advantage of
like
it?
I don't really want to know what the misconceptions are too deeply because it's like it's not even my responsibility to fix it, you
I
know.
love it. You're like, that's not my business. Like,
Exactly, it's not my business. Like I'm sure I have misconceptions about. I have no idea what people are doing on Wall Street. No clue.
yeah, I don't
They
even know.
could
I
just be
have
like,
no interest in knowing. Like,
I have no idea. You could explain it, and I'm still like, okay.
it's one thing that I'm still just like, okay, is when people try to explain like Web3 to me or like crypto, I'm just like, blockchain? What? I don't
Yeah.
fucking know what that means. Like,
I
okay.
would, I'm like, it seems cool, but I would never trust, I would never trust my understanding enough to like put money in it.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I can't actually physically touch it. That's kind of weird. Which I know like is weird because we do social media and we can't physically touch it, but I'm just like, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, and you don't have to be because it's not your thing. Like
Right.
that's the magic of it is we
Right.
all have our own world.
We do. We do. Oh my gosh. This has been so great. This has been
I
so
know.
much fun. I love that we got to talk about more than just like styling and got to like talk more about
Yeah.
just like, you as a person, because that's also what I love about this. But no, this was truly so valuable and so helpful. And this will be coming out like kind of around-ish the new year. So you guys, like, let 2023 be the year that you just like step into yourself, whether it's through your style, whether it's through your daily routines, whatever it is, like make this the year that you go fucking all in on you. Like
Yeah.
that's the theme. That's the theme. So, Florencia, this has been such a pleasure. If people are not following you already, they are going to want to after this. They should, or they're very silly. So, plug away. Where can people find you?
The best place to find me is my website, which is styledbyflorencia.com. And Florencia is Florencia. And that has the links to all my other places on the web, but that is the main spot.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. And then one question that I'm asking every single person at the end of each interview, it's based on like the name of the show, which is Embody Radio. What is one thing that you are working on embodying in your life right now?
I think I would say respect. That's something I've been talking about a lot lately. I think like being respectful to yourself and to your environment and to the people that you're interacting with. It's like it's not talked about as much like with women. I think men are like, we respect each other, like, you know, like manly men. But like for women, it looks different. It's like being a good listener and being patient and calm with people and like with yourself, like not beating yourself up so much. That's also respect.
I love it. That was beautiful. Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was truly a pleasure. I would love to have you back, but seriously, thank you for coming on. This was amazing.